Hey, it's me, Unapologetically T, and I'm back with another video. Today I wanted to talk about colorism. This is actually my second video. The first one I did was codependency, so if you are interested about codependency, go ahead and check that one out. But colorism, I have endured this personally and um deep rooted. But I want to give the definition of colorism before I even start. So the definition for colorism is, and this is just a Google search, but is prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. I wanted to read this one because although it is typically amongst the same ethnic or racial group, it didn't start from there. No, guess where it started from? You'll see a familiar theme. It started from colonization. Yay, you're learning. Okay, so I don't know, I felt like Dora the Explorer just now. But leave me alone, my child. But yeah, so colorism, I feel like if you are a darker shade and you live anywhere on this planet, then you have experienced colorism. um it is typically an issue. It is typically an issue, period. And I'm not going to just say amongst the same ethnic groups. Um, Darker skinned people are typically shunned upon. Definitely, like, I can speak for America because my experience has been in America. We are shunned here. Definitely has deep roots to colonization, and if it ain't white, it ain't right, and that's just how it go. And I feel like you start to see a lot of colorism come into play in America during slavery, when there was mixing, even though black can make different shades. Black people, period, all across this world can make different shades of people, different eye colors, by ourselves, like within procreating amongst ourselves, we can have different shades and phenotypes. Um, However, when you think about slavery and you think about slave masters having inappropriate relationships with their slaves, which in most cases it was rape, um, the women didn't have any choice. You would get kids, which back in the day, this is definitely a racist term. Mulattoes, that's what they call them, which is basically a mix. It's like what? A mulatto is like isn't that like the donkey? Let me look that up real quick. But it's like a mix between a horse and a donkey. Yeah. Yeah, they used to call the people mulattoes. Mulatto, mule. My daughter be trying to check me, and she need to get her shit together because we'll be here all day. I will smoke your boots when it come to this. I don't want none. I don't want none. But for purposes of me talking about this, I do want to make sure that I am being correct. Let's see. Yep, so it says it's usually mulattoes is usually an offensive um, term for a first generation offspring of a black person and a white person. Usually offensive in a person of mixed white and black ancestry, and it does come from um, basically describing the mixing of the donkey and the horse making a mule. So very racist, very insensitive, very fucked up way to describe us, but we were constantly described as cattle and treated as if we were cattle, the way they had breeding farms and stuff like that. So there's no surprise to me. But however, I just wanted to make sure that we are very clear on where this stuff starts, because I think that, even though we are internalizing it and doing it to each other, I think once we realize where it actually starts from, it could give us a level of disgust, that we don't want to keep doing that to ourselves. So, colorism is definitely internalized hate towards each other. Um, when I think of colorism, I typically focus on, darkest tone people being treated differently because of their skin shade. So, for me, growing up, psychologically, like, no one had even told me this, but like psychologically, I always felt like, because I was darker skinned, which I always felt like I was darker than what I actually feel like I am today. Like, I thought I was the darker, like the shirt dark at times. So colorism, I did not have, even down to the hair. Like, I didn't have straight hair. Basically, I wasn't blonde, blue hair. I mean, blonde hair, blue eyes. Excuse me, I'm not editing. So if you are new to this channel, I don't typically edit. Um, I just want people to know that I'm human and I'm normal, and I do love the aesthetically pleasing videos, but I felt like, I just had enough. I just want to see people be people, and because I want to see that, I'm going to be myself. I'm going to be the change that I want to see. Um so I always felt like I wasn't pretty because I was, darker. I was, had this curly hair. However, people did always tell me I was a beautiful little girl. Definitely like adults. My peers, not so much. But adults always told me like I was pretty and beautiful. But like my peers, I never felt socially accepted with my peers. Beauty, intelligence, none of it. Socially, none of it. Um, but yeah, like psychologically growing up as a young child, like I just knew being black wasn't right. Um, And I say that not because being black isn't right. I feel like being black is damn right. However, as a child, I felt like to be born black was a stain. And that's sad. And I think that definitely came from media. Like, I didn't grow up with a whole bunch of TV, but I definitely grew up, seeing white people have a better life than I did. Um, Both of my parents were born during segregation, so I was very aware of my history and how, we were treated. My mom grew up with colorism within her own family unit. To this day, I have family members who feel like, if you ain't light skinned, you ain't right, or you're dumb, you're uneducated. Like, it goes a lot of ways. Like, they think if you're not pretty, if you're not like some of them got some deep rooted stuff that I hope that they work through before they leave this earth. But my mom grew up where she was called Black Bat, Black Cow, um, Blackie. I don't know if she was called the N word, because I think N word was like shunned upon back then throughout that community. Like, I don't think they was walking around calling each other niggas. Like, that was disrespectful. So, um, and my mom rarely says like nigga, like rarely. So but I definitely has heard stories of her experiencing colorism, and so much so that when her light skinned cousin came to visit, she would call them black cows and black bats, and they were light skinned, and they would laugh at her because they knew they weren't black. And it's a running joke to this day. They'll say that to each other. But she didn't know. She just thought that, that's what you call people when you mad at them. But she didn't realize that she was getting some extra spit on that. Like, to be called a bat is kind of like not nice. But to be called a black bat, they made that even more like that's extra not nice to be called black. And it's like, baby, black is beautiful. And I've learned to embrace that in myself the older I've gotten over the years. However, I do feel like children growing up, that's why it's so important for representation. Um, because children growing up, like, they know, they are aware of that it's a stain to be black, and they will treat each other differently because of that, because society has a standard for beauty that is just ignorant. And I think we're growing, but I don't think we're there yet. I think that colorism, which some people will disagree with me, but I think of colorism the same way I think of racism. Yes, light skinned people also face ridicule and sometimes maltreatment within our community because they're lighter skinned, and a lot of it comes from jealousy of the actual colorism for dark skinned people. So it's like this double edged sword. And I think that lighter skinned people, your feelings are so fucking valid in this conversation of being treated different. Like, I'm not gonna say any names or anything like, but I love to listen to people's stories. Definitely black women, but I was listening to a black woman's story. She was a lighter skinned, beautiful black woman, and she was talking about how she had experienced colorism on her job with another black woman, and she was talking about the mistreatment that she got, and it was like basically a lot of the woman doing things to try to prohibit her from getting a promotion in her job, and just saying little comments to her, like as if she act like she's all that or something like that. And it could have been furthest from the truth. um However, I think one of the things that lighter skinned people need to realize when you face colorism, you rarely face colorism um, that stops you from excelling in life. Whereas in darker skinned people face colorism to the extreme where it is life altering, it can stop opportunities, basically on a level of like literally systematic discrimination. And I say this because she had this black lady, which they both are black ladies, excuse me. She had this darker skinned black lady tell her, try to do all these things to sabotage her, right? She still ends up getting the job. So she still ends up getting the job after all of that the darker skinned lady was doing. And I want that to be something that lighter skinned women look at. She wasn't able to see that at the time, or not, I didn't even think I brought it up to her. I think it was something I saw after the fact, that you were still able to achieve what you needed to achieve, even though you shouldn't have to endure that mistreatment. She didn't stop shit. She might have hurt your feelings. She might have made you feel uncomfortable, but she didn't stop shit. So, for darker skinned women, though, when we face colorism from our own kind. We face colorism from white people, Hispanic people. um, it can be Asian people, like, because there are so many groups of ethnic groups that have been brainwashed to hate darker skinned people, like, because they think being closer to white, like, that gives them proximity to privilege or something until they come over here. You come over here, like, we all niggas when you come over here. So I don't even know, can I say that? But if I can. But I don't know. But I just felt like, we're close in proximity. I mean, when you're close in proximity to whiteness, um, things can be true that you can feel. Someone can hurt your feelings. Someone can make you feel uncomfortable. It could be wrong, the treatment you're receiving. However, I look at colorism the same way I look at racism. Like, black people can't be racist until we hold power to actually stop white people to do stuff, and we simply do not have that power. We simply do not have the power to stop people from advancing in life. We can be prejudiced, we can be biased, like we can say things that may offend you, hurt your feelings, but we cannot systematically stop or hold you back from any fucking thing. And I think of colorism the same way. Is that I have seen black darker skinned people be negative towards lighter skinned people, and usually it's rooted out of jealousy, right? We are taught to be jealous that, maybe we didn't get that lucid curl pattern. Some darker skinned people do have lucid curl patterns, so it's ignorance. But maybe we didn't get that skin texture, like we see that the privilege you have, and you're closer to the standards of beauty that society has set up, that there's jealousy that can come through with some black people who have been treated poorly, and I mean poorly, by their own kind and other people, other ethnic groups. So yeah, sometimes you will see that where it happens. However, um when you're a darker skinned person and you're actually enduring colorism, that might mean you don't get that promotion. It might mean, you hear things like, "Oh, you're beautiful for a dark skinned girl." Like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, I'm just beautiful, right? Like, it might mean that you know, you hear all kind of stuff when you're darker skin. Like, I'm so serious. Like, I had an uncle, God rest his soul. My cousin, she is pale as a motherfucking sheet of paper, and she beautiful though. Like, but she pale as a motherfucking sheet of paper. He was pale. His wife was pale. His son is pale. Like, um, and he suffered from colorism, and like his daughter picked up, well, she started dating a dark skinned man, and he got fucking pissed off. He got mad. um he said a lot of like prejudiced things, and um very racy things, and told her like she was gonna have a baby by that black ass, bleepity bleep. And however, what he did come to terms with was when his grandchild was born, he did realize how ignorant it was, and he said how much he loved the child, and he didn't see it that way. However, he still did not like her picking up black, darker skinned guys. I have people in my family that will, if you black, they'll call you a monkey, a black monkey, and that's why I don't be tolerating that shit. Like, I'm not tolerating it from black people. I'm not tolerating it from white people. We just not doing that shit. So like colorism is rampant through not only our own ethnic groups, like we treat each other like that within the black community, but colorism is very, 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 very bad. Um, and started with colonization to begin with, and I think the jealousy too stems from privilege that mixed children will receive. If you was a master's child, you most likely got to be in the house. And I'm pretty sure being in the house, once again, I do feel for my light skin um, black people, because just because you had privilege in the house didn't mean that you didn't go through hell in that house, because you definitely had to be with master's wife, and she probably won't happy you was in there either. So I think colorism is something that is, although it is amongst our own ethnic groups, and this happens, colorism happens with Hispanic people. Like, I've heard conversations about this. You even have some Hispanic people that are literally fucking African descent, and they want to identify with it because they want to keep their proximity to whiteness, or they also feel like black people want to accept them, when it's like it's clear as day you're fucking black. But that's a story for another day. But yeah, this happens in different groups. So like Paul Mooney said, everybody want to be a nigga, but no nobody want to be a nigga. So it's like, yeah, colorism is one of those things that it takes a lot of undoing. I think for definitely like a child that is struggling with it, like you have to find beauty within yourself. I did not find beauty within my skin tone or my hair texture until I was like in my late 20s. Um, so it's a journey. I think it's a disservice for us to continue these ways. And like I said, I always like to get to the root of things, and I feel like the root of things is colonization. Colonization, colonization, colonization. And even though that is the root of things, it's just like how when we're looking at our growth and how we turned out as adults, you most of the time can go to the root of the problem being your parents or some type of like development childhood area. And even though that's the root of things, you won't fix the problem by just saying, well, this is the root of things. You have to fix the problem by actively unlearning and working on being the change that you want to see. So colonization is the root of the issue. However, we definitely have to um, be our own solutions and fix things and work on things like um, we are all brothers and sisters in my eyes, and we need to cut this foolishness out. Black is beautiful in all its shades, the same way white should be beautiful in all its different varieties. Um, and I think that's one of the things that I've come to terms with. Like, sometimes white people are offended by black people having their own things, and I would say like black people having their own I guess pride in certain stuff. And I think sometimes white people feel like, well, they can feel left out, and that's how black people feel all the time. That same feeling you feel when you can't participate in something or you can't do something because you're white, that's how black people have felt their whole life. And I used to feel sad for y'all until I realized, like, I felt like this my whole life. And the fact that I have to have instances of things that is just for me, and I have to feel bad that it is just for me, or that I have black power, or um, I have to fight for Black History fucking month at the shortest month of the year. Um, that just goes to show how racist this society is that that I even have to do that. I wouldn't have to do that had there already been space for me to be myself. Um, but because there's no space for me to coexist as myself, we have to fight for these certain areas that feels kind of like gatekeeping of things. Um, because we almost feel like anything we have, it gets taken away, or we almost feel like any pride we take in ourselves, it gets taken away. So I don't know. I hope that makes sense to whoever it needs to make sense to. But yeah, I used to feel bad that I had that I am so for my people, because it almost felt like, it could come off as, well, isn't that reverse racism? No, the fuck it's not. The fact that I have to be like this is the fact that things was racist in the first place. Had there been equality, then it would, everybody would be free to be who they are and how they are. It wouldn't be so much separation. Um, and until things can get fixed, we have to fight for space. We have to fight for equality. We have to fight for those things. So yeah, that, I don't know. That came out for somebody. I don't know. I hope it's found the white person that it need to find. or the black person that's struggling with your blackness. So yeah, I don't know. This wasn't like such, like I said, I'm not a clinical professional and I don't want to be. I want to more shed light on issues that I've experienced and keep it moving. Like if you can relate, you can relate. But yeah.